Learning objectives. After completing this module, learners will be able to understand the need for political institutions, explain why we need a parliament in a democracy, differentiate between the two houses of the parliament, compare executive, political and permanent, explain in detail the power of the Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers, understand and describe the role of the President, understand and describe the role of the judiciary. Working of institutions. Office memorandum is a communication issued by an appropriate authority to announce some major policy or decision taken by the government for immediate implementation. The decision makers. President is the head of the state and is the highest formal authority in the country. All government decisions are taken in his name. Prime Minister is the head of the government. He exercises all governmental powers and takes most of the decisions in cabinet meetings. Parliament comprises of the President and the two houses, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. The Prime Minister must enjoy the support of a majority of Lok Sabha members. Need for political institutions. The government has to provide social security, education, health and other basic amenities to the people. It collects taxes and spends it on defence, administration and other welfare schemes. It formulates and implements policies. For all these requirements, arrangements are made in a democracy. These arrangements are called institutions. The constitution of a country lays down basic rules on powers and functions of each institution. A. The Prime Minister and Cabinet Ministers are institutions responsible for taking all important policy decisions. B. The civil servants are supposed to implement the decisions taken by the Prime Minister and his cabinet. C. Supreme Court is an institution which has the responsibility of settling disputes between the citizens and the government. Since institutions work through meetings, committees and routines, sometimes it delays decisions but eliminates the chances of a quick and bad decision. Why do we need a parliament? In all democracies, an assembly of elected representatives exercises supreme political authority on behalf of the people. At national level, it is called the Parliament, and at state level, it is the Legislative Assembly. To run a democratic government smoothly and satisfactorily, we need the topmost institution, Parliament. The Parliament represents the people of the country. It exercises its political authority on behalf of people in various ways. A. Legislative role. Parliament is the highest and final law-making entity in the country. The process of law-making is called legislation. Hence, all these assemblies are called legislatures. A parliament has the power to change existing laws, make new laws, abolish existing laws, and introduce new ones to replace them. B. It exercises control on all those who run the government. C. Financial role. It controls government expenditure and public money. The government can spend public money only after the Parliament sanctions its use. D. Executive role. Being the highest forum of discussion and debate, it decides public issues and national policies. The government can take decisions only if it enjoys the support of the Parliament. Two houses of the Parliament. Our Parliament consists of two houses, the House of States, Rajya Sabha, and the House of People, Lok Sabha. The members of Lok Sabha are directly elected by the people. Those of Rajya Sabhas are elected by MPs and MLAs. The total number of elected members in Lok Sabha is 543 plus 2 Anglo-Indian nominated members. The total number of members in Rajya Sabha is 238 plus 12 nominated members. One term of Lok Sabha lasts for 5 years. One term of Rajya Sabha lasts for 6 years. Lok Sabha can be dissolved, but Rajya Sabha is a permanent body. Its members retire on completion of their term of 6 years. Lok Sabha has more powers than Rajya Sabha. An ordinary law needs to be presented in and approved by both the houses. In case of a difference, a joint session of the members of both the houses is conducted. Due to a larger number of members, mostly the view of the Lok Sabha prevails. The Lok Sabha enjoys more power in money matters. A budget or money bill passed by the Lok Sabha cannot be rejected by the Rajya Sabha. The Rajya Sabha can, at most, delay it for 14 days or suggest changes. The Lok Sabha may not necessarily accept the changes. The Lok Sabha controls the Council of Ministers. The person enjoying support of a majority of Lok Sabha members becomes the Prime Minister. If a majority of Lok Sabha members say they have no confidence in the Council of Ministers, the Prime Minister and his ministers have to quit. The Rajya Sabha does not enjoy this power. Executive level. At different levels of government, there are functionaries who take day-to-day decisions and implement them on behalf of the people. They are only in charge of execution of the government policies. Since they are only executing, they are called executives. There are two categories of executives in a democracy. Political executive. The first category includes leaders that are elected by the people for a specific duration. They are called political executives. Elected ministers, the Prime Minister and his Council of Ministers fall in this category. They act on behalf of the people and are answerable to the people who elected them. They take big decisions. They remain in office only till they enjoy the confidence of the majority members of the Parliament. They are more powerful than the permanent executives. They have the power to take final decisions. Permanent executives. Officers who are appointed on a long-term basis according to their qualification and experience are called permanent executives or civil servants. They help the political executives in carrying out the day-to-day work. They are experts but do not take the final decision. A change in government does not affect their status. They continue to be in their office even when the ruling party changes. Prime Minister and Council of Ministers. Prime Minister is the most important political institution in the country. The President appoints the leader of the majority party or that of the coalition parties who commands a majority in the Lok Sabha as the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister does not have a fixed tenure. He remains in power till he is the leader of the majority party or coalition. The Prime Minister works through his Council of Ministers. It comprises of some 60 to 80 ministers of different ranks. Cabinet ministers are top-level leaders of the ruling party or parties. They are in charge of important ministries. Cabinet is the inner ring of the council. There are about 20 ministers of cabinet rank. Ministers of state with independent charge. These ministers are in charge of smaller ministries. They attend cabinet meetings only when invited. Ministers of state are required to assist the cabinet ministers they are attached to. The cabinet works as a team. Opinions of all the ministers are heard, but the cabinet's decision is binding on all. Head of the state. President. The President is the head of the state. Though all decisions are taken in his name, he has nominal powers. He is not elected directly by the people. He is elected by the MPs and the MLAs. He appoints the Prime Minister, the Chief Justice of India, the judges of Supreme Court and the High Courts of the states, the governors of the states, the election commissioners, ambassadors to other countries, etc. A bill becomes a law only after the President gives his assent to it. All international treaties and agreements are made in the name of the President. He is the head or supreme commander of the defense forces. When no party or coalition gets majority, the President can choose a person who he thinks shall be able to get majority support in the Lok Sabha. Judiciary. All the courts at different levels in a country put together are called the judiciary. India has one of the most powerful judiciaries in the world. It is independent of the executive and the legislature. It includes the Supreme Court, High Courts, District Courts and the courts at local level. India has an integrated judiciary as the Supreme Court controls the judicial administration in the country. It can settle disputes between the citizens, between government and citizens, between states, between government at state and union level. The Supreme Court and the High Courts have the power to interpret the Constitution. If a law passed by the legislature violates the Constitution, the Supreme Court can declare it invalid. It protects the fundamental rights of the people of India and prevents misuse of power by the executive or the legislature. Summary. Let us summarize what we have learned. Office Memorandum is a communication issued by an appropriate authority to announce a major policy or decision taken by the government for immediate implementation. The government makes arrangement for welfare schemes, defense and administrations, etc. These arrangements are called institutions. To run a democratic government smoothly and satisfactorily, we need the topmost institution, Parliament. Our Parliament consists of two houses, the House of States, Rajya Sabha, and the House of People, Lok Sabha. Lok Sabha has more powers than Rajya Sabha. At different levels of government, there are functionaries who are only in charge of the execution of government policies, are called executives. The Prime Minister works through his Council of Ministers. The Prime Minister coordinates the work of different departments. In case of a disagreement between departments, the Prime Minister's decision is final. If the Prime Minister resigns, the entire ministry quits. The President is the head of the state. Though all decisions are taken in his name, he has nominal powers. All the